On this Honda Pilot, we're going to replace the windshield wiper motor, and in this case, this is a 2005 Honda Pilot. What we're going to get to is taking off this trim, and then right underneath here is the wiper motor. So let's start disassembling. On these wipers, there's a little rubber cap here, and you pull that off, and it'll expose this bolt. Just unscrew that, and then you just need to press down right here, which is going to release the spring tension, and then pull up. Just keep the windshield in mind, obviously. You don't want to hit that and crack it. All the way around this trim piece, you just need to pull up and snap all the clips off, and you can start to see the wiper motor right there. There's only 4 bolts holding this mechanism in. There's one over here on this end. There's one right below the motor right here. There's ones all the way over on the left side here, and that's it. Getting this mechanism out is really easy. You just need to unplug the wiper motor, and then again, just watching the edge of the windshield right here, you kind of need to push everything to the left because it's held in with a sliding pin right here. So in order to keep this whole system in time whenever we take everything apart, there's a little arrow right here. So I just put it in whatever position it is right now, and then I drew a little line right where that arrow is pointing. So when we put everything back together, we can line those 2 marks up. With a wrench holding this in place and an impact driver, this nut comes right off. Remove the 3 bolts that are holding the motor in. Normally this connection between the whole linkage assembly and the motor is going to be pretty stuck on there. So what I'd recommend is putting the bolt back on so you have a flat surface to hit without mushrooming over the threads. And then I'm just going to tap it. I take that off. Now that linkage is broken free. With the new motor, we can put everything back together. When we put this on, we'll line those marks up. Then we'll put the bolt in place. Snug it on with the impact. Everything goes back in. Don't forget about this little pin over here that needs to slide on. There it is. Can't stress enough how important it is to watch the edge of this windshield. If you tap the edge of this windshield too hard with a piece of metal, the entire thing will shatter. Tempered glass is really strong on the face of this. I could probably hit the face of this windshield with a hammer and it wouldn't crack. But whenever you tap, even pretty lightly, the edge of it, that's when the whole thing shatters. Plug the motor back in. This plug comes off really easy. There's just a little tab right here you need to push on. Whenever that's in there, you just squeeze the bottom of it and it pulls off really easy. Before everything's together, this is a great time to test it. Whenever I trigger the washers, what you see right here is it wants to go down before it goes up. It should just go straight up right there, so it's trying to force the wipers to go farther down than what they can. I'll pull it out and readjust the timing. This is how this whole system works, and this is a lot easier to understand. You don't even need to worry about any kind of timing marks. You just want this bar to be straight with this bracket. And the reason why is whenever I spin this around, you can see that's the wiper mechanism going back and forth in both directions. And similar to finding top dead center of a piston, whenever I spin this, I want to go until the motion stops and it's about to go in the other direction, and that's right there when this bar is straight. That makes sense to me. So just spinning it around, I'm like, okay, right there, which just so happens to be straight with this bar, is where I want to tighten this down. Whenever this moves, you can see as soon as that starts, it starts moving up, and it doesn't spin down first. Glad that that's finally working. These little plastic clips will need to come back up through, and what they do is they hold that plastic or that rubber foam weather stripping in place. I think it'll be easier if we just pop these clips out and then pop them back in when we want to snap everything together, because it's pretty tricky to weave it through this hole. pop this all back together. These clips are what hold this weather stripping in, and it goes in one side at a time like that. I think that'd be pretty tricky while it's on the car, so I'd like to put them all in the weather stripping. Then I'll just be able to pop the weather stripping in as it goes along. Now we can put it in. Get all this sorted out. We want to tuck this rubber in and around everything and where it was before. This little rubber flap here comes detached. Just slides right back into the trim piece, and if there's anything you don't know where it goes, you can always look on the other side if you haven't taken that apart. Put these plastic pieces back in the trim. Start popping these back in place. And we'll put the plastic pieces into the second piece of weather stripping. If you just pull up on this weather stripping and you don't take these little plastic connectors out when you're removing it, this is what's gonna happen. It's just gonna rip that rubber. The wiper arms are laid out where the one with the straight piece right here is in the center and the one with the curved elbow is on the right. Put the nut in, snug up these bolts, put these rubber caps over these bolts, and these really keep the corrosion off. We'll give this a final test, and that's how we replace that new motor.